All right, so today on our show we have a very special guest, Ann Atkin with Meth Mobs. Now, if you've ever had questions in regards to homes with meth and you've been shopping for a house and you're wondering about this, should you get a meth test? Should you not get a meth test? What do you do if it has meth? All of those wonderful questions that we have about the unknown, you're definitely going to want to watch this show because Ann's going to break it down for us and share about meth. All right, so stay tuned, watch this show, and you will be glad you did. Good morning, everybody. You are listening to K-Talk Radio, 1640 AM. This is the show, Utah Home Sweet Home. I am your host, Yoshi Shiraki. Our very special guest is Ann Atkin with Meth Mobs. Ann, how are you?
I'm doing awesome this morning. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for being here.
Excuse me. Cough.
Yeah, exactly. I just went to talk and breathed in and it went down the wrong tube. And you're always doing good. Every time I talk to you, you're always doing good. Do you ever not do good?
Everybody has their days, right? But it's a choice. Every day is a choice.
That is right.
I'll pick good every day.
That is right. Perfect. I love that. I kind of feel the same way. I don't really want to choose to not feel good. And so, since we can choose, I'd rather choose to feel good.
I'd rather choose good, yeah. Let's have a little fun today just for...
Yes!
Hoops and giggles, right?
Exactly. Awesome. All right, well, you've probably guessed it. Since Ann is from Meth Mobs, we are going to be talking about meth today and the effects that meth have in real estate, in homes, and all of that good stuff. You know, you're shopping for a house and your realtor suggests you get a meth test and you're thinking, oh, geez, do I need to get a meth test? We live in Salt Lake City, Utah. Nobody does meth here, right, Ann?
Right, yeah. There's probably only about 1 in 8 homes in Utah that has meth. So may the odds be forever in your favor.
Right. Yes, and so, you know, it's a huge concern for tenants moving into a new home. What if the previous tenant did meth, or for a homeowner buying? And I was going to ask you the statistics. So I had heard it was about 1 in 8. Is that accurate? Is that the statistic that's running out there?
It's hard to know exactly.
Sure.
But a national stat is that 1 in 10 homes has it in the nation.
Okay.
And in Utah, we're top 5 for use.
Oh, wow.
So we do our share of meth here in Utah, unfortunately.
Got it.
And so I deal with a lot of home inspectors.
Okay.
And depending upon the company, we're a statewide company, so I'm talking to them all over the state. Depending upon the company, they'll tell me between 1 in 4 houses to 1 in 8.
Wow.
Crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy. So, if you're out there looking for a home, then out of all your home buying searches, you know, as far as all the homes that you went into, probably one of them, if not more, was contaminated with meth.
Absolutely.
Got it.
Yeah. It's hard to imagine.
Yeah.
I grew up here, right?
Yeah.
So I have that. I live in Provo.
Yeah.
That's all right?
Yeah.
Nothing bad happens
there.
there.
No, nobody does meth in Provo.
No. I'm certain of it.
Yes.
Or anything bad for that matter.
Right. Exactly.
But, it's hard to believe that we do that here. So it's really hard to spend the money with your home inspector,
right?
Paying extra for a meth test because you're like, well, I know what a meth house looks like, and it's not this beautiful thing.
Right. I remember you telling me once that it's a good idea to test every house because even the houses on the East Bench that grandma's lived in but had no idea her grandson came in one time and a couple times with some friends and did some meth in the basement, right?
Yeah.
And it's just... like you said, you talked about what a meth house looks like. It's not what you expect.
It's not what you expect. And I am an advocate of test every house every time.
Right.
If you're buying a house, I don't care if Meth Mob decontaminated it 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Test every house every time because we do so much meth here.
Right.
And it doesn't take much. And it also doesn't off-gas. I mean, what we're talking about in the real estate world with meth is third hand, not first or second, with me and you smoking it together.
Right.
But third hand, what's left on the walls and the floors and the ceilings.
Right.
That's what we're talking about, and it doesn't off-gas. So it could have been something that was smoked in 20 years ago, 10 years ago. What I do run into, it often it's sad, but this will be several times a year. Couples gone off on their mission.
Yes.
And they'll let whoever comes stay help them out for a couple of years while they're out.
Yes.
And sure enough,
they come back.
I do far more beautiful houses than what you and I might think of nasty hoarder, creepy house.
Right.
It's not that at all.
Wow, that's crazy to think that. I mean, yeah, I guess if 1 in 4 or 1 in 8, whatever statistic you go off of, sure, that's going to be a lot of houses, beautiful, ugly. Yep. And everything in between.
Everything in between. Yep.
Wow. Okay. So, can you explain to the listeners a little bit about how the test works? So, like, in case somebody's out there going, "Hey, I should test my house. I rented it out, or I went on a mission and came back." Or
sure.
Like, what is a test? Sure. How does that process go down?
So, a test typically consists of testing 3 areas in a house.
Okay.
And it's typically done in that due diligence portion when somebody's buying a house, when they've got their home inspector in to check the furnace and the microwave and the all those things.
Yes.
And they'll typically test 3 areas in a house, and it's a swab test that they actually put on a piece of gauze with methanol.
Okay.
And then they'll send it to the lab to get the readings on it. The lab tells the truth. We can judge every house we walk into, and sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong.
Right.
But it really is a matter of just swabbing that area that you're doing, wherever it is.
Got it.
And then that kind of gives you a read on the house.
Got it.
And then as far as clearance testing, which is more what I do as a certified decontamination specialist,
okay,
that would be 3 areas in a room. If I was clearing this room, I'd test a ceiling, a wall, and a floor. One test, and that would clear this room. So there's pre-testing to see if it's here, and there's clearance testing to see if it's gone once it has been found.
Got it. Okay. And when you say that the lab obviously doesn't lie, right? The lab's actually here in West Valley, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It's actually in Murray.
Oh, in Murray.
Yeah, and ALS Labs probably does 80% of the meth testing in the nation, and we have them right here.
Yeah, that's where I was going with that.
It's really awesome because I can get a same-day test if I need it.
Right.
Versus if I'm testing down in St. George or Moab, I can't do a same-day test. We've got the luxury of it here, which is really nice. And they do an awesome job, and it's typically 4 business days.
Got it.
And, with anything, if you throw more money at it, they can do it faster.
Yeah, they have a 24-hour expedited fee. Yeah. Okay, so now somebody's tested it, and it tests positive. According to what I understand, the state of Utah allows you to have a 1.0, and I don't even really know what that means, other than when I look at a piece of paper and see if it's below or above 1.0, where now it's like it needs to be contaminated according to the state. Can you break down exactly how the results come back and when it needs to and when it doesn't need to be contaminated?
Sure.
Okay.
Hopefully
or be decontaminated. Sorry.
Yeah.
Not contaminated.
That's done, right?
That's already done.
Yeah. We'll let that dirty work be done. So here's a way that I explain it to customers that's hopefully easy to understand. Think of $1 bill being the legal limit.
Okay.
Where you go 1.
Yeah.
Think of $1 bill, because we can wrap our brain around $1, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to wrap your brain around. 1 microgram per 100 square centimeters.
Yeah.
And me, East Elementary, talk to me in inches and pounds.
Right.
So,
right.
So, the 1 microgram per 100 square centimeters is about 4 inches by 4 inches. That's the template size. Okay. And you swab in that area. Okay. Up and down 5 times side by side, and that is 100 square centimeters. Okay. So 1 microgram is about 1/1,000,000th of a popcorn kernel.
Got it.
All right.
Okay.
So when test results come back, typically a test has 3 areas. Okay. So there's going to be 3 numbers on that line. You've probably noticed those, right? Yes. Your first number is the amount of meth that was found on that sample. Okay. So just for the sake of this, let's say it's a 3. Okay. And then the middle number's a 1 because I tested 3 areas. They're going to take my total amount of meth and divide it by 3.
Makes sense.
And if it was a 3 and I tested 4 areas, that middle number now would be, how many times does 4 go into 3?
Yeah.
8, 7.8?
Yeah, something like that.
Then it'd be like a 0.78 versus a 1.0. So your first number is the actual amount of meth. Okay. The middle number is your legal number. So that has to be under $1. Okay. And then the last number is 0.10, so 10 cents. That's the lowest of the lab test too.
Got it.
So when you get a higher number, it's easy to go. It's a full decon, right?
Right.
You get an 8 or a 13 or 100 or whatever. When it gets a little bit more questionable is when that first number's a 1.5 and the middle number's a 0.5.
Right.
Where you go, well, am I over the limit?
Right.
Or under?
Right. Right.
Yeah. So the legal number is the middle number.
Got it.
The actual number is the first number.
Got it. Okay.
Did that create a little more confusion for you?
Yeah, I'm totally confused now, so. I'm just kidding.
$1 bill is your legal limit.
Yes.
And then if it's under that, it means it's there somewhere in low doses that the state considers safe for an infant.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And that's where that was my next question is, so why one? Why is the dollar bill the 1.0 where they say, hey, if it's under this, you're still safe,
right,
and over that, it needs to be decontaminated? It's based off of infants?
Yeah, a couple things, yeah. And the state health department is the one who's determined this.
Okay.
And they did their most recent determination, I want to say maybe it's been 3 years.
Okay.
2 years ago. And what they've determined is 3 micrograms is what's safe for an infant.
Got it.
And remember, on my clearance testing, if I'm doing a ceiling, wall, and a floor, and my total number's 3, but my divided has, right?
Right.
So they don't know if I'm testing 3 areas, if 3 was on the floor or 3 was on the ceiling.
Sure.
So it's kind of a convoluted way to say where we got to our state standard, which is 1 microgram.
Yes.
It's based upon a clearance test consists of 3 areas in a room.
Right.
And we don't want a 3 to be right down there, because guess who's down on the floor?
Yeah, the infant crawling.
Yeah, and doing exactly what they should be doing.
Of course.
Learn how to walk, learn how to crawl.
Right.
Zero hygiene. Everything goes in their mouth.
Yeah.
No immune systems, or just growing immune systems.
Right.
So we want to make sure that it's not anywhere that, I mean, our state law was basically written for an infant. You and I have put all sorts of wacky things in our body, right?
Right. Gotcha. Got it. Okay. That's good to know. I never really understood how they came up with that being still safe. It has some contamination, but it's not a lot of contamination, so it's still safe for people. But it's based off of infancy, obvious infants touching the floor constantly.
I think it's a little bit kind of like our COVID world.
Yeah.
Where it's all over the board, right?
Sure.
Some people are like, oh my gosh, we're all going to die.
Yes.
And it's the end of the world. And other people are like, oh my hell, grow up, right?
Right.
And then there's everything in the middle. So meth contamination, I think of like that.
Okay.
Maybe for most of us, we're fine. Our Utah air might be worse than third-hand meth on some days, right?
Right. Exactly.
So I go, I absolutely believe in the value of decontaminating and have safe homes.
Sure.
I do.
Yes.
But I also don't believe that it affects everybody the same.
Right. Makes sense.
Bad air days. Some people are in the hospital because they can't breathe, and then somebody else is out there jogging in it.
Right.
So we don't all come the same.
Exactly. Okay, that makes total
sense.
sense.
If that helps put it in a perspective.
Absolutely. I had a gentleman who a meth company a long time ago. He explained it to me like meth is kind of like a peanut butter jar sitting on the counter, in that if somebody who's totally allergic to peanuts went into the room, they'd be fine until they scooped peanut butter and put it in their mouth. He says it's kind of the same with the walls. He goes, unless you're licking the walls, you're probably fine, not necessarily, as far as the effects of meth, which then makes more sense that, who licks the walls? But infants do, the floor at least. Right. Is that accurate or not really?
It's pretty accurate, because what happens when somebody's smoking meth, imagine that vapor just going wherever it goes. So some will land here at the walls.
Yeah.
And then in that vapor, it goes back into its original crystal meth form, just baby format. So that vapor lands. Okay. And then it sticks to the oily surface that we live in.
Got it.
Right? I mean, if I have my dirty handprint and I put it on your wall and I pull my hand back, my dirty handprint will be there.
Yeah.
That's the oily surface holding the dirt out of my hands.
Right.
So, is that my dirty handprint going to jump on you?
No.
No.
Right. Makes sense.
But you probably don't want to go do that and lick your
right?
So I think the risk can be relatively low, because if you're not touching anything, you're fine. But look at us here.
Yeah, touching everything.
Yeah, and then we have immune systems that are built up that you can consider the most contaminated portion in any house, the carpets.
Got it. Yeah.
Who's down there?
Yeah, the babies.
Yeah. It's too hard for me to get up, right? I'm not getting down. It's like but they're down there in the most contaminated, doing exactly what they should be doing.
Right, touching.
And and so then they don't even have to lick the walls.
Yeah.
Give them a banana to peel.
Yeah.
They're not going to wash their hands before they eat it.
Exactly.
They're not going to wash their hands, period. They only need a bath once a week when you beg them, right?
Exactly.
I go, that's the way kids are.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah, okay. Well, that helps me a lot. That really makes sense. So, I have heard that the best place to test for meth is the return air, because if somebody is smoking it, then it's getting sucked into the ductwork. Is that accurate, or?
I think it's accurate. It's not inclusive of everything, right?
Okay.
So here's what happens in a forced air furnace home.
Yeah.
Most of our houses in Utah are forced air.
Yes.
If it's radiant heat, all bets are off, right?
Yeah.
But forced air, that cold air returns sucking 70% of the air in that house. So when it's on, it's tattletelling on every room in the house.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
So if a house has central air from the date it's built, it's a really great place because it's tattletelling 12 months of the year.
Right.
If it's furnace only, it's only tattletelling 6 months of the year. So it's a really good high percentage place to go, but it shouldn't be the only place.
Got it.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely. I never even thought of that. I was just like,
yeah, it's kind of a tattletale.
Yeah. That's right. Okay. So now people are out there, they're looking to purchase a home. Can you share because as a real estate agent, I have suggested to some clients, you may want to consider these steps of due diligence. And I've had clients that were like, I don't even want to do a home inspection, Yoshi, because it's $400. You really think I should do a home inspection? I'm like, yes, I really think you should do a home inspection. We didn't see everything that was in the attic, behind the walls.
Right.
And so then you're bringing up all these different things for them to consider, and all of a sudden now this due diligence period is getting expensive.
Yes.
And so they start pushing back, like the meth test. That house doesn't look like it has meth. That's a beautiful house. It's not that expensive to have a little bit of reassurance to sleep at night. Do you mind sharing what that looks like?
I think of it like car insurance.
Yes.
You ever not want to have car insurance on your car?
All the time, yes.
Yeah. But you never want to collect on it.
Right.
Yeah, so I think of that, and I get where you're coming from, because in Utah in general, and I say this with total love, I am Utah my whole life long, raised right by my mama, good old pioneer heritage. We're cheap.
Right.
We're cheap here.
We're do-it-yourself everything.
Yes. Yeah, and it's like my brother did construction, I'll have him come over and look at it. So yeah, it is tough, and if somebody's walked away from their first house after they've dropped $800 on a home inspection, sewer line, meth, mold, radon.
Yep.
And now you're taking them to home number 2, and it's like, holy crap, Yoshi. How many times do I got to drop $800 to find the perfect house?
Exactly.
And so I'm a huge fan of home inspectors.
Yes.
Huge. Because I think they give us a great game plan for, okay, what's urgent in the next 30 days? What's our 1-year game plan? What's coming up in 5 years? And what's coming up in 10 years?
I agree.
You're spending $2, $3, $4, $1 million on a house or more.
Yeah.
Why on earth wouldn't you spend
$600,
$700, $800? It's, in my mind, I'm like, it's a no-brainer.
Right.
Having said that, I've also been on the other side where I've had a home inspection and the inspector went, you want meth, mold, and radon? I'm like, are you kidding me? I know what a meth house. And this was before I started Meth Mob, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not spending that kind of money.
Yeah.
And so I get it where it's hard to spend that money. But if you don't do a home inspection and you have a water heater, $1,000, $1,500.
Right.
You miss meth, $5, $10, $15, $20 grand.
Yes.
You miss a sewer line inspection,
yes,
$5, $10, $15 grand. There's a couple things in home inspections you don't want to miss.
Right.
And I say that because literally every week at Meth Mob, I have people that I'm decontaminating their houses that they bought the problem. Most people figure out where their meth has come from.
Yeah.
And in most cases, they know after they do the mental gymnastics backwards.
Yes.
But in some cases, it is flat out, there is no way, but you know what? I didn't do a meth test 5 years ago when I bought it. Those break my heart.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, they just didn't know. That's why I love your informational show. It's like, if we know better, we can do better. If we don't know, we don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, okay, very cool. Now, here's a random question. So being in real estate, I fix and flip houses, landlord, real estate agent.
Yep.
I buy houses, right? And so we'll test them for meth because we need to know if we need to get them clean before we put them back on the market.
Yep.
I was once chatting with a recovering meth. He did it. I don't know. I know he was an addict. I don't think he was an addict, but he did meth. A user. Thank you. Yeah. A recovering meth user, and because he had children, he never smoked it in the house because he didn't want to expose them to it, but he smoked it in the car all the time. He says, that was where I went to do it. And then he chuckled and he's like, gosh, I didn't even think about this, but he goes, I actually sold that car. I was like, oh gosh. And that's where you did it all the time. So do you ever get called to decontaminate automobiles?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got my team finishing up one today, in fact.
Really? Yeah.
Stolen cars, test them.
Got it.
Test them.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I would have never even thought to test a car until he told me that. I was like,
yeah. I know. The things I've learned about meth in the last 5 years, too. I'm like, who knew?
Seriously. And I think you touched on the carpet earlier. I wanted to share with the listeners in case they missed that. But just from my experience and your education in the past, when a house tests for meth, correct me if I'm wrong, anything that's porous, carpets, curtains, sofas, have to be disposed of, right? And then the hard surfaces are what you decontaminate.
Correct.
So, so carpet obviously being porous, then of course that's where the baby's crawling, and then they put their hands in their mouth. With automobiles, I'm trying to just think here, like, is a leather sofa or a leather seat considered porous? Do you get to salvage those, or are you taking those seats out of the car?
Yeah. They're porous. Okay. There is a lot of porous in cars.
Okay, that's what I thought.
A lot of porous. Yeah.
So you're ripping out the floor of the car, the seats of the car.
So our meth standards, if it's under the state standard for contamination, but traces, and that is pretty typical in stolen cars because they generally aren't out a long time.
Right.
So they're short-term use, right?
Yeah.
So in a lot of our cases, it's under the legal limit, and we can use extraction.
Got it.
And I think probably the biggest issue with porous stuff is we don't have a good way to test it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because when you're testing 100 square centimeters on a hard surface, you know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
To test carpet, you have to cut a piece out, and then how many fibers are there in 1 square inch?
Right.
So you don't get a good reading unless it's a no detect. So I think until we figure out a great way to test permeable, I think it's more the testing issue than the ability to decontaminate.
Got it.
But our state law does not allow for salvaging carpet in a room that's testing over the limit.
Okay. Got it.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Cars, motorhomes, brutal.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay. So if you're buying a used car,
that's a whole nother issue. Don't even.
Okay, we're going to take a commercial break.
Sleep at night.
Oh, man. All right. Well, when we come back from commercial, I am going to ask Ann, what does the remediation process look like? Because I have an idea of what it looks like because Ann has helped me on multiple houses in the past, and you get locked out of the house. You come in, you change the locks. I don't get to go back in.
Not till we're done.
Yeah, so Ann's going to break down a little bit of how that happens. And, the times you've helped me, they've been homes that I bought to remodel. And so I didn't live there. So that didn't disturb me as far as my lifestyle too much when you locked me out of the house. Because I wasn't living there.
Right.
But people that you're remediating, they have to go somewhere, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so yes. Stay tuned. You're going to want to hear what happens in case your house tests positive and you need to get it remediated. We are back. You are listening to K-Talk Radio, 1640 AM. This is the show, Utah Home Sweet Home. Our special guest today is Ann Akin with Meth Moms. We are discussing the topic of meth and real estate and what you need to know if you're out there shopping for a home, getting ready to sell a home, maybe looking for a place to live as a rental property, or you're a landlord looking for a tenant to move into your rental property. Woo! There's a lot.
Yeah,
yeah, there is definitely a lot. So we are to the point of the show where I think a lot of people obviously know homes get remediated, but what does that process look like, if you don't mind me asking, from the minute you take possession? Because you take possession.
We do take possession. So at Meth Mob, we guarantee everything we do, right? If something fails after we're done, we go back, we do it for free, we retest it. There's no surprises. I'm going to give you a safe house that I can put my own grandkids in.
Right.
So because of that, I want to secure the environment. So we actually put on our Meth Mob locks when we start a house.
Got it.
And then we don't change those locks back and give it back to you until we get our test results back.
Gotcha.
So in some health departments in the state, they actually tag the house out for it's off limits as an unsafe environment.
Right.
And so even though I've changed my locks out until that health department releases it, which is typically a day later.
Gotcha.
But yeah, we control the environment in there. We don't want anybody in there, and it's the pits when there's a whole life in there, when there's 90 years or 80 years of life with somebody's stuff in there, and grandma and grandpa have to move out, or it's painful. It can be painful. How's that?
I can imagine, yes. So as I was mentioning, the homes that I'm purchasing, I don't live in them. So when you take possession of it, it doesn't really affect me because I'm not going to that house anyway. I'm going home.
Right.
But I just can't imagine, like you're talking about, let's say, a homeowner who's occupying the home, all of a sudden they realize they have to now move out and find a place to live while you're decontaminating. How long is that process of decontamination usually for a scenario like that?
To get it completed, it's about a 2-week process. So we're in there a week.
Gotcha.
Day one, we call it our dry day. That's where we go hook up a great big HEPA vacuum to the furnace, and we're sucking out all the registers, the runs, the returns. We pull the squirrel cage out of the furnace. We're getting all the dry out. We pull all the drawers out of the cupboards and vacuum, get all the dust bunnies.
Yeah.
Because when we decontaminate, we don't want meth mud. We just want to decontaminate. So we get all the dry out day one. Then day 2, 3, 4, we're scrubbing every inch of ceiling, wall, floor, duct drawer, Harry Potter closet, furnace, literally everything for 3 days. And then on the 5th business day, we're rinsing everything down with fresh rinse water. So it's almost like scraping your plate on Monday, washing on Tuesday, washing on Wednesday, washing on Thursday, fresh rinse water on Friday.
Got it.
So then week 2 now, we're in 2, we'll test with the health department, and then it's 4 business days to get the test results back. So we're in there a week, but it's really a 2-week process to get it completed.
Got it. I remember my broker once telling me, you know my broker. Yes, and he says, Yoshi, this is a long time ago, he's like, when a home has been remediated for meth, it's more clean and disinfected than you're in my house.
That's true.
And I was like, oh, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Because, I mean, think about this. When we're in there washing out all the returns and registers, if you have a kid with allergies to pets, right? You get a new to you house, but it's not necessarily new. Somebody else had a pet in there 5 years ago. That's stuck to the oily surfaces in that ducting system too.
Right.
So, or anything
that's...
I know there's all these crazy allergen issues.
Yes.
Or whatever it is, we're taking care of that. Not that we sell that. We're a 100% meth company. I don't sell other things. But cigarette. Oily.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many things that are stuck to the oily surface of a HVAC system.
Right.
Ceilings, walls, floors, cupboards inside and out. When you're literally scrubbing those, you take care of probably even the COVID. I'm not guaranteeing it. But I go, you're starting fresh. You really are in a way better house than yours or mine today.
Right. That makes total sense. My wife, we had 2 American Bulldogs. Now I have 1. Unfortunately, one passed away 2 years ago. Got him as both as puppies, and we discovered that after we got him, my wife's allergic to both of them, right? And so the one that we still have turns 13 on Thanksgiving, or turns 13 on December 4th, so just after Thanksgiving. Her brother passed away on Thanksgiving, so that's why that date's in my mind. So for 13 years, she has lived with being allergic to our dogs, right? And so that, I never even thought of that, getting a house obviously for allergen reasons, disinfected, cleaned. Wow, very cool.
There's a lot of pluses. It's not necessarily a negative thing when your home inspector says there's meth in this house.
Sure.
Because guess what? You really you should stay in the deal. I'm a fan of keeping the deal together. Yeah. But stay in it because guess what? You're going to pick your own carpet.
Yeah.
You're going to have a way better house than you looked at.
Right. Absolutely. Because, the carpet's going to go.
Yeah. The seller's hating it typically.
Yes.
But yeah. You are walking into a much safer house in a lot of ways.
Right. Actually, I know of, and I'm sure you've run into it, of real estate investors who fix and flip a house, and, it was the house that's like, this is not a meth house. We're good. And they went in and put new carpet in. Their buyer came in, got a meth test, tested positive. That brand new carpet, what happens to that brand new carpet?
It goes right to the dump and gets buried, and it's painful.
Yes.
And I do it several times a month.
Wow.
It's I hate that part of my job when I go, I'm throwing away probably perfectly good carpet.
Yes.
But you don't know what's been contaminated, and some people just don't know any better. It is so easy to go, look, Grandma's passed on and we need to handle the estate and the market's hot. If we put $10,000 into the house, we're going to get $30,000 more right on an offer. So people paint and put carpet in, put up for sale. The home inspector comes in, and that meth isn't going away.
Right.
It's got to be decontaminated, or it's going to be there. So then it's found, and then I throw away brand new carpet, and it's painful.
It's painful. Yeah. Absolutely. Because the buyer's like, I don't know if that carpet's new, and then the seller's like, no, here's the receipt, I promise. And they're like, I don't care, I want this house decontaminated.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's exactly what it is. The buyer gets to have that assurance, and the seller's like, pretty sure it didn't happen on my watch.
Right.
Yeah, but you didn't even know it was on your watch, right? So it doesn't mean they don't have credibility, it's just the unknown.
Right. That makes sense. Okay. And where can our listeners find you? Do you have a website, phone number, in case they want to get more information in regards to any of kind of, these things? Sure.
It's an easy website.
Okay.
www.methmob.com.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah. And what else? Our phone number?
Yeah.
801
Yeah.
318
Perfect.
1583.
Okay.
And we even answer the phone call on weekends. So,
nice.
That's most people that have to call us and get in touch with us are not having a good day.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So we're available.
Got it. Okay. Do you have social media? You probably don't post all the houses that you decontaminate for meth for social media marketing because your clients are going to be pissed.
They would kill me. Yeah.
But do you have social media that people can follow you? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we have Facebook.
Okay.
I have a guy who does that.
Yeah.
Because I like to get on Facebook and go, I remember when you posted that you lost your bulldog. See what's going on with my friends and family. I'm not a super big social media person, but we have Facebook, Meth Mob, and then all the Twittery.
Yeah.
I am so bad with that. I'm sorry.
No
I'm
problem.
sure we have it somewhere, but I know we have a Facebook page.
Perfect. Yeah. So you can follow Meth Mobs on Facebook. Search them and you can find them.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So, just out of curiosity, how are you coming in contact with most of the homes that you remediate? Is it buyers having a property under due diligence? Is it clients that have been shut down by the health department because their house was raided? Is it an investor like myself who buys a house, tests it, and goes, oh crap, it's got meth, we better remediate this before we start remodeling? Or is it all of the above?
Yeah, it's all of the above.
Okay.
It's all of the above, for sure. And the process is exactly the same. Whatever we're doing, I want every house to be safe to live in. From a meth standpoint, I can't do anything about COVID, Utah air, whatever anybody else wants to fight about.
Right.
But I can do something about the meth.
Right.
How's that?
Yeah.
So a lot of our stuff is in that due diligence period of a real estate transaction. Because there's only like 30 certified decontamination specialists in the state.
Got it.
And we employ 5. 5 of the others refer to us. They don't even decontaminate.
Got it.
A couple of them are in jail now.
Oh, gotcha.
I mean, we're a little teeny number.
Yeah.
And so when police busts happen, we get a lot of those calls too, because that person will go down the list and go, who do I call?
Right.
So So yeah, we get plenty of health department houses, and then like yourself, investors. There's plenty of investors that go, I want to do the right thing and put a nice house out there, and I do a lot of work for investors too, and I love that.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Thank you for sharing that. I want to give the listeners an idea of the expense. You had mentioned earlier the broken sewer, the cleaning for meth. Well, first of all, how, you may have said this, but I don't remember if you did. Sorry. How much does it cost to do a meth test during your due diligence?
I think most of the home inspectors out there are like $150.
Very inexpensive.
Yeah, I mean,
for the peace of mind.
For peace of mind, it's cheap.
Yeah.
That you go, oh, because invariably after I do a CE class, I've got a CE class that I do. People will go, oh my gosh, I should test my house. I bought it and I didn't know.
Right.
But having that peace of mind going, I didn't buy a $10,000 problem that's going to be there when I go to sell it in 10 years.
Yes.
It's a no-brainer.
Right.
And, I prefer home inspectors that know what they're doing to do the pre-test, because it's a little less creepy than when I go out and go, oh, Yoshi, your house is positive, but by the way, my company cleans it up, right?
Right.
You look like an ambulance chaser.
Right.
But I've trained a lot of home inspectors on how to do it properly, too.
Got it.
So if they're doing it with the home inspection, I would bet you a lot of them are even a little bit less than that. But, man, to know you haven't bought a problem.
Oh, yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
A no-brainer. So about $150 to test it, and if you think, I'm going to save on that $150 because those buyers are like $800 into it and they're due diligence, right? They're $400 on the home inspector, and then they get radon, and then they do a sewer scope, and now they're doing a meth test in this beautiful house. That $150, let's pass on it. But if you don't, and then it tests positive for meth later, as you mentioned, it could be a $10,000 remediation problem.
Easy.
Because
here's what typically happens in that case.
Yes.
When somebody doesn't, and like I said, I deal with this literally every week in my company. I'm doing at least one house with that situation.
Gotcha.
So then they think their house is closing, right, in 3 weeks.
Yes.
And they're moving into their new house.
Right.
And when it's 2 weeks of my work, that pushes back the closing.
Right.
All right, so you're making another house payment, and you've got a rate lock deadline, and all the things that go into the crazy. You know that one, right?
Yeah.
Addendums galore.
Yes.
So, it pushes back your closing. You're going to lose all your carpet, pad, permeable, like the 1-inch, these blinds with 1-inch strings in them.
Yes.
Can't test that either, right?
Right.
So, 1-inch blinds, if you've got fabric blinds, the new wave is those fabric ones.
Yes.
Those go.
Oh.
So you're going to have 2 weeks of me torturing a house, and there can be some paint bubbling when we're done. So I tell people, plan on paint touch-up.
Yeah.
I never know how much or how little, but plan on paint touch-up. New flooring. If you have pergo-type flooring that has seams, our process is wet, right? So invariably, there's some bubbling. And if you... I don't even know how to say this a nice way, but if you have the cheap pergo flooring that's cardboard backing, all it does is absorb. So you can end up with new, even though it's not carpet floors, it's going to be new flooring.
Right.
If you have insulated flex ducting, and typically a 3-level house that's built today, furnace in the basement, all the runs in the upstairs come through the ceiling, and they're all insulated flex ducting. So I pull that out and kindly send it to the dump, because we have to send whips through it, right?
Right.
And so by the time you're replacing your insulated flex ducting, your carpet, your pad, making an extra house payment, most deals I can talk people off the ledge and go, you're going to have a better house. But if your buyer walks, that's adding more time on.
Yeah.
I would say at a minimum, you're probably 10 grand.
Got it.
And I've had people that, obviously the higher square footage houses.
Bigger.
They can be $25,000 problems.
Got it.
$150 is nothing.
Yes.
I guarantee that doesn't happen.
Exactly. I love it. Okay, great information. Out of curiosity, what is the highest test results you've ever seen? And just prepping this question, guys, 1 is the legal limit.
Yep.
Okay.
So $1 bill,
Yep.
legal limit.
Yep.
We actually decontaminated one that was $10,000.
Holy cow!
10,000 times over the legal limit.
Oh my gosh! How did you come across that? Did the city health department shut that down?
No, I called the city. Well, when we do our work, we turn in a work plan. No, it was on MLS. Beautiful house.
No way! Yeah. Wow.
Beautiful house on MLS, and yeah.
10,000?
10,000. So it took us a few more than 3 scrubs. I'll tell you that. It took us a few more than 3.
Oh my gosh.
But we probably do, I would say, I don't know, 5 to 10 houses a month that are over 100 times over the legal limit.
Really?
Most of our work is under, I would say most of our work, probably 80% is under, 70-80% is under 30 times over the legal limit.
Got it. That's the biggest I've seen, 30. I didn't realize there's 10,000 out there.
Right, yeah. They're ugly. In fact, I had an investor call me last week, and he's like, I got a meth house. And he sent me pictures of some big old beaker bottle things. And, and he's like, and it tested at 29. And inside I'm kind of going,
that's nothing. Okay,
yeah. So my kid was smoking for the, you know what?
Right.
It's a big deal, and I'll handle it. And then we had, you know, the hazmat crew come out, and it was wine. They were brewing a little wine, but you know, you just don't know.
Yeah.
It's the exact same contamination at a 1 as a 30 as 10,000.
Got it.
It's just more in that 100 square centimeters.
Yes.
That a baby ingests. That their little body has to kick out, and when their body's trying to kick it out, and it will.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's when they were developing those cognitive skills, or their allergy system, or their reasoning abilities, or their little cells are. We're at the age our cells aren't getting better, stronger, faster. I'm just saying.
Right.
But theirs are.
Yes.
And it's interrupting that process.
I see. Got it. Going back to that 10,000, I mean, that just blows my mind. I thought you were going to say, like, I don't know, 300.
I wish I was, yeah.
Is that, this is, sorry, just a completely stupid question probably. Is that because they made meth, or is that just a lot of usage?
I would say that is a cooking number.
That's a cooking number,
yeah.
Okay.
We don't see many meth labs in Utah right now. It's just too hard to get your hands on precursor chemicals.
Gotcha.
And in fact, in Utah County, there was I mean, you can Google it. It's, out in Payson, there was a storage unit meth lab just a couple weeks ago.
Really? Wow.
So they called us, and we went out and tested it, and tested the one where, and we didn't see any evidence of meth lab stuff.
Yeah.
And we tested the storage units on either side, and everything's under the legal limit, and they're finding meth lab. We just use it.
Right. Right.
It's like no one had to do an oil change on your car and actually doing it.
Right.
Who does that? You go to Jiffy Lube, or you go to,
you
know, Larry Mill, wherever you get your oil changed.
Yes.
You do that. You don't do it yourself, and it's smoking that's contaminating our houses, and even a 29 is just a lot of recreational use.
Gotcha.
But I would say a 10,000 was definitely a cooking number.
Got it.
If I got a 300 in a 5,000 square foot home, I would say cooking.
Okay. Gotcha.
If I get a 300 in a 600 square foot apartment where somebody's been living for 10 years, I go, they're going to die young.
Right. Right.
They're using it a lot.
Yes, yes. Gotcha. Okay. And that was it. You said that was a pretty house. So just to be clear, that wasn't like an investor going in and buying an ugly house. That was off the MLS, you said? Amazing. So just a house, pretty house on the market.
Beautiful.
Buyer did due diligence, and that's okay. Did the buyer leave? Did he stay?
Yeah, that one left. That one walked.
Gotcha.
And we got it handled, and the new buyer came in. It sold, and and that one did have all insulated flex ducting.
Got it.
So and that was between the 2 floors.
Gotcha.
So what we try to do is the least damage possible and try to get into more detail. But in this case, you know, we sawzall the floor upstairs so we can get to the flex ducting versus go through the sheetrock.
Right.
Because you're putting carpet over the...
Yeah.
So we just screw it back down. But, it had all new flex ducting, and we're cleaning all the boots and testing them and cupboards. And, so absolutely feel comfy. It's safe today.
Nice. You mentioned that it took a little extra scrubs. Other than extra scrubs, is there anything that you do different for a higher contaminated home to clean it versus a lower contaminated home?
No, because it's the same thing.
Okay.
It is literally just scrubbing.
Yes.
And think of it like this. When you put your dishes in the dishwasher, most of them come clean.
Right.
But if you didn't wipe off that spaghetti.
Right.
Comes out of the dishwasher and it's hard as a rock, and now it takes a lot more scrubbing versus washing it off before you put it in a dishwasher.
Right.
So it's kind of that thing. Most of it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
You don't know where it is and where it isn't, so it's just more scrubbing.
Got it.
That's why it helps to know the numbers. It's the same thing, but...
Gotcha. Okay. This is a question for any of you out there who are an investor and owned a rental property. And should landlords test their property every time a tenant moves out? Do you recommend that? Or, hey, let's just get the house clean, get the next tenant in there. That tenant seemed like a nice person. They probably didn't do meth. Let's keep going.
That is the $1 million question. So I am a landlord and I have rentals, and I am a certified decontamination specialist, and they are clearly two different hats.
Gotcha.
I do test behind every one of my tenants.
Okay.
I have single family homes.
Yes.
So I'm doing a test. I did 2 this year. I had 2 of my houses move out, but I like to keep them a long time.
Right. Yes.
So if I had a 16-plex of BYU students, where they don't do drugs anyway.
Of course.
So it doesn't matter, right? but I go, you'd be testing a lot.
Right. Right.
So I'm going to leave that one hanging out there. As a landlord, we have a responsibility to do the right thing and provide safe houses for our tenants.
Right.
And you know this, everybody's got their different business model.
Yes.
There are slumlords.
Right.
There are not slumlords.
Right.
There are crappy real estate agents. There are great real estate agents.
Right.
There are, same thing with home investors.
Right.
Same thing with certified decontamination specialists. We all have our own different business model.
Yeah.
For me, I go, I want to sleep good at night. My head hits the pillow and I go, yay, another safe house.
Yeah.
From a meth mob standpoint.
Yeah.
And from a landlord standpoint, I like to have nice properties so they take care of it. That's my business model.
Right. No, I like it.
But otherwise I go, yeah, you could go broke being a landlord.
Yeah, especially if you had to remediate $10,000 in between each tenant.
Well, if you think about this as a rental, if your kid has been on drugs and they've been living with you for 6 months, a year, and they've been doing awesome, and they've been on the wagon and they've holding down their jobs, and you go, okay, I'm ready for you to be out of my house. Pretend you're 18 again, right?
Yeah.
Are you going to go buy them a new house, or are you going to put them in a rental?
Yeah, you're going to put them in a rental.
Put them in a rental.
Right.
So it doesn't make landlords bad. They're just a little more vulnerable to duress.
Right.
And every drug user may not be in duress today,
right,
but they will have it.
Right.
Because once it gets them by the throat, the duress starts. That's why you can't judge a house by how it looks.
Yeah.
Because you don't know where they're at
Seriously.
in that process. There's functioning meth users today out there in the world.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Let's chat about now. This might be more of a medical question. We talked about how COVID's affecting people differently. We talked about how the Utah air, one person's barely breathing and in the hospital, and the next guy's jogging in it, right? What have you seen or know of as health challenges to, let's say, not infants, but grown-ups? You know, I've seen the news shows where they're interviewing a lady who, and it was not Utah, but it was a meth story that intrigued me. And you know, the problem was the previous tenant, she was a renter, had smoked meth, and obviously she's now living in this house and is suffering from something. I don't even remember the story very well. What do you see the health challenges are for, like, adults that, you know, might have bought a home that had meth, or moving into a rental that has had contamination?
I think you brought up a good analogy earlier, and I tell people this all the time. Think of it like a peanut allergy.
Yeah.
For most of us, we're going to be fine. For some, it's deadly or dangerous.
Got it.
And I go, I don't even think twice about peanut butter in my house, because guess what? None of my 22 grandkids, none of my kids, we don't care. We
Right. Yeah.
Costco pecans are a staple in my truck. I don't think twice about nuts.
Right.
But some people, it's life and death.
Got it.
And so Utah Health Department has a website where they've got some issues, and there's a laundry list of things they believe third-hand meth can contribute to. And I will tell you, I don't believe it affects us all differently.
Got it.
Some people that smoke their whole life never get cancer.
Yeah.
And then we know people that have lung cancer that have never smoked a day in their life.
Right.
So put third-hand meth in that same category.
Yeah.
It's not going to treat us all the same. I have some real estate agents that go, I know when I'm in a meth house, my face will start itching, I start sneezing, I know it.
Right.
And maybe they do.
Right.
I don't. I judge every house I test.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, the nice ones that are beautiful. I'm like, no way, right? Because that's my Ann Atkin beliefs.
Right.
And it comes back hot, and I'm like, are you kidding me? And then I go into Slumsville, and I think for sure, because those are my beliefs.
Right. Right.
And then I come back from a nasty hoarder house, and it's a no detect. I'm like, did I do something wrong? So there's no method to the madness. And it's not going to affect us all the same. I trust the health department. I trust there's issues.
Yeah.
I don't believe it's a big bad boogeyman. Nobody's getting out alive, right?
Right, right.
Nobody's getting out alive. But I do trust I can take care of the ones that are down there.
Yes.
That I can do something about.
Right.
You and I are going to drink. If there's anybody listening from Provo, I'll deny it, you know.
Yeah.
Not that there's been any coffee flowing in Provo, but I go, we're putting stuff in our bodies. For most of us, we're tough.
Yeah.
For most, they probably go, I don't particularly want to get COVID, but if I do, I'm going to get over it.
Yeah.
And for some, it'll take out. I trust that. I trust meth is right there with the COVID.
Got it.
With the peanut allergies.
Yep.
Don't expect to walk into a house and go, yep, I know this one, I'm itching.
Right.
I just don't think it's
Yeah. Exactly.
like that.
Yeah.
I know that's a horrible answer. That's just my truthiest.
Yes.
That is a terrible word. That's the best answer I've got, truthiest.
Yeah.
It's a Provo word.
Okay.
Provo word, truthiest.
Truthiest.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Excellent. Well, Ann, we have come to the end of our show. Thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom with our listeners. Especially the ones out there, that are shopping for a home. We've now come to the conclusion that it is necessary to spend that. Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Test every time. And thank you for letting me come on and share this information, because I think so many people just don't know why they should drop $150.
Right.
They get asked so much, and you get money fatigued in a real estate transaction. This is one you don't.
Yes.
You just pay the money up front to your home inspector. Yep. Just do it.
Totally worth it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you find yourself in a situation where you need remediation, www.methmobs.com.
No S.
Methmob.
Yep, methmob.com.
.com.
801-318-1583. We'll answer our phones and we'll help you. And you can call on anything. It doesn't have to be over the limit, under the limit. Most people just want information, and a lot of stuff doesn't need to be decontaminated. But somebody needs some information so they can sleep at night.
Got it. Wonderful.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Ann. I appreciate you joining me.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate you, Yoshi.
Awesome.
And thanks for doing your best as an investor, too.
I appreciate
I love
that.
dealing with investors that do the right thing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, guys, you've been listening to K-Talk Radio 1640 AM, the show Utah Home Sweet Home. I'm your host, Yoshi Shiraki. Our guest today was Ann Atkin, and I hope all of you have a spectacular rest of the weekend.
807. When you're hiring, you don't want to waste time sorting through.
Wonderful. Thanks, Ann. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that show with Ann Atkin. Man, she shared a lot of great insight on this mystery of meth and real estate. We obviously came to the conclusion that it's a no-brainer. You're always going to want to get a meth test. $150-ish, give or take, to find out if the home is going to cost $8,000, $10,000, $20,000 remediation. Well worth that investment. So leaving this show, one thing that I can say with confidence is if you're looking to purchase real estate, always with the statistics of 1 in 4 or the other statistics of 1 in 8 houses in the state of Utah having meth contamination, the odds are that you're probably looking at a home that has meth. So test it, find out if it's that one, then obviously ask the seller to remediate it or do what you need to do and maybe find another property. But at least you can have that peace of mind for a very small investment. Now, before we wrap up this show, I wanted to share a big announcement. We're in November 21st, 2020. I only have one more month of doing this radio show, and I will be leaving this radio show to go on to television doing Good Things Utah. So I will be on Good Things Utah now, moving forward in 2021. So keep an eye out for me on Good Things Utah. We're going to be doing a segment called $1 Million Home Sweet Home, where we tour $1 million houses here in the state of Utah. So keep an eye out for that. And thanks so much again for watching. And if you like this video, hey, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, put them in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel.